All right, welcome to episode 151. We're going to be talking about all things OpenRewrite, Java 17, Quarkus. So it should be an informative episode. We're lucky we've got three guests today. We've got Max and myself hosting, and then we've got Guillaume and Adriana as our guests. So welcome. Let's start with some introductions. So shall we? Yeah. Who are you? Why are you here? What's your involvement with OpenRewrite and Quarkus? Maybe let's start with Guillaume.
Yes. So you might know me as the person behind the Quarkus releases. So I'm working on all things Quarkus for a few years now. And I started interacting with OpenRewrite when we migrated Quarkus to Jakarta E10, and we used OpenRewrite to transform Quarkus. And then I continued my journey with this Quarkus update thing that we will present today. And so that's pretty much it.
Cool. Thanks, Guillaume. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, so my name is Tim Beek. I'm a staff software engineer at Moderne, where I work on OpenRewrite. And among other things, I'm responsible for the community at OpenRewrite, helping folks both use the tools and help expand the tools. And that's also how I came in contact with the team behind Quarkus. I think I met Max walking back at DevOps, and he mentioned some issues upgrading to the latest version. And so I dove in, I helped him out, and that's how I got involved in getting Quarkus on the latest versions of OpenRewrite.
Yeah, so, I had not made that connection before you just said so. I did. Okay, but good. Yes, we met at at DevOps, and yes, but that was a late night evening in a bus somewhere. I just realized, yes, I just hadn't connected. That was you, Tim, but that's yes.
Yeah, all good things happen on a DevOps tram. It's like the common thread underlying our industry. Sure. And how about you, Adriana?
Hi, my name is Adriana Machado. I work for Red Hat Consulting here in North America. And I'm helping clients migrate their applications using Quarkus and OpenRewrite.
Excellent. So we've got sort of a nice range of perspectives. So I think, Guillaume, do you want to start first and show us some of the things that are happening with Quarkus and OpenRewrite?
Sure. So as I said, the first thing we did with OpenRewrite at Quarkus was to rewrite the whole Quarkus tree to use Jakarta E10. So we used OpenRewrite to change the dependencies, adjust the source code to use the new imports for Jakarta because they changed the package, and do a lot of other changes to the source code. So we had a very large rewrite work. I think the job was taking 1 hour 30 to completely rewrite our entire source code. And so at the beginning, I was a bit nervous because when you use this sort of automated tools to rewrite your source code, you most often end up with a lot of unwanted changes, formatting changes, and it can make your code quite a mess. And it also makes it extremely difficult to understand the changes because the formatting is lost, so you have a gazillion of changes. And when you are updating a source code the size of Quarkus, if we had noise, it would have been nearly impossible to actually check what the tool was doing. And that's something we liked a lot about OpenRewrite. It really takes great care of your source code, and it tries very hard to respect the formatting, make the changes minimal, and then you have a very clean diff with only what you changed. And that was something that was crucial for this task, and also crucial for what we wanted to do next with OpenRewrite, meaning using it as a tool for Quarkus users to update to new Quarkus versions.
Before you go on to that, can you tell us a bit more about the Jakarta migration? How long did we have the Jakarta stream open for?
I think we had it for several months for sure, maybe 6 months. And we basically every night we were writing the stream, rewriting main to the new Jakarta E10 and running the tests. And and it went for a long time, mostly because we had to tune a lot of things for the rewrite, but also because, well, we had to be ready to release Quarkus 3, and we wanted to take our time to make sure that it would be, well, at least have everything we wanted in Quarkus 3 in the main source code. So we had really very few issues related to OpenRewrite itself. Most of the issues were we broke something at some point, or we were using, we are doing a lot of code generation in Quarkus, and sometimes when you are playing with method signatures and things like that, we were using JAVAX directly without using an import or things like that. And OpenRewrite is not a tool that rewrites strings. It's a tool that, so it can do that, of course, but most importantly, it's a tool which understands your source code, which parses it, and actually changes what you really wanted to change. So when you are changing a package, it doesn't do a sed in your source code changing everything. It actually really changes the package. So we had a few tweaks to do, and of course, the new versions of components were coming, so we had to update to them, and then it was breaking something and things like that. So it went for a while, and what was amazing is that we were able to prepare this migration for several months, and the day so the main source code was still the old Jakarta, the old JAVAX packages, and we decided on a weekend to actually do the migration, and mostly to avoid people not being able to work because we were doing too many changes, or also avoid conflicts, someone pushing some changes and conflicting the whole rewrite. And during the weekend, we just push a button and we push to main, and on Monday, main was moved to Jakarta E10. It was a very huge changelog and a huge patch, and it went really without any hassle. And on Monday, people were able to work on the new tree, totally migrated to Jakarta E10, which for a project the size of Quarkus, so Quarkus, it's like more than 1,000 artifacts and a lot of source code. So it was a big change, and it went really flawlessly. So.
Yeah, for those of us who weren't involved, it was completely painless and completely transparent. So before we did like the big weekend move, can you remind me, was the workflow that each night we would take main and then move it into our test branch and run the OpenRewrite migration, and then just as a sort of a practice migration and see what broke?
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. So the fact that it looked so easy was extremely frustrating for me, because I put so much effort into it, and in the end, everybody was, oh, it was easy in the end. And I was like, no.
It was like the Y2K bug, but for Jakarta EE. That everybody went, what was the big deal?
Exactly. But basically, every night we were rewriting main to the new stuff. So new stuff meaning Jakarta EE, but also all the components updated to Jakarta EE. And Jakarta EE impacts a lot of things and a lot of the ecosystem, typically with CDI, also with a lot of the JSON-B thing. A lot of low-level libraries are using Jakarta EE. So when you are moving to the new Jakarta packages, it actually impacts a lot of the Java ecosystem. So we had to update a lot of libraries, moving to a lot of new components, which came with new features, sometimes new bugs, regressions. So we had to report things to get them fixed. And yeah, the process was really like that. Every day you go to the feedback from our CI and you check what's going on. And if you have new failures, you try to understand what was going on and and fix that. And obviously it was when we were dealing with something extremely complex at the Quarkus level. So a lot of it was also fine-tuning for specific artifacts and things like that. And this took quite a lot of time. And we also made some iterations, meaning that we would rewrite first the core thing and make sure that it would somehow work. And then we would make progress on the various artifacts. Because for some components, we didn't have a version compatible with the Jakarta yet. So, and we didn't want to just wait for them to be ready. We wanted to check whatever we could at the moment and keep these artifacts aside that were not compatible yet with Jakarta 8.10. And then we would move them to the new stuff when we could. So the process took quite some time to rewrite the whole tree. And once we had the whole tree, it was really about iterating every day and see what the changes in main and the possible component updates could break in our tree, and also doing some fine-tuning and finding some other occurrences or things we missed. That's pretty much it.
For the things where OpenRewrite didn't handle it out of the box, like you mentioned, if we would have javax in a string, what was our strategy for that?
Oh, you said, obviously. So for a few things, it was easier to use sed rather than rather than doing other things. But to be honest, at the moment, we were really consuming OpenRewrite as a tool, consuming the recipes. We didn't really try to write our own recipes back at the time because the task was so overwhelming that we didn't really have the time to say, oh, let's take a step back, and instead of using sed there, we could maybe write a recipe and things like that. Obviously, now with all the work we are doing with Quarkus Update, we are far more familiar with OpenRewrite internals and how we could rewrite things with OpenRewrite. And sometimes it's also a bit complex because some changes are so typically if you update your BOM, we have a BOM in Quarkus, so once you update the BOM, the dependencies have changed in the OpenRewrite model. And for a few things that we wanted to do, the fact that we had the new BOM inside the model was not really what we wanted, or we weren't able to compile the thing or whatever. So yes, we had a few manual changes, but really, without OpenRewrite doing the most of the work, I don't think we would have been able to have this approach. And I think it was the right one. Retrospectively, it was possible for all the team to continue to make progress on Quarkus without even thinking about the Jakarta 8.10 migration. And I was the only one focusing on that. And without these tools, it wouldn't have been possible to go with this approach. And
really
also, nice. Whenever we had some issues or we weren't something we didn't understand or whatever, so I'm not saying we were pushing OpenRewrite to the limit, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of customers have a lot of very weird cases. But the size of the project made us see a few things, or we experienced a few issues. And every time we had issues, OpenRewrite team was extremely helpful and providing some feedback. And for us, it was sometimes extremely hard to extract a test case because, well, we had this huge rewrite, and it was extremely hard to understand the state of things when something was failing. So yeah, it took us quite some interactions with them, and and every time we interacted with them, it was really helpful, really, really nice. So yeah, nice tool and nice people.
And you mentioned, that we're using OpenRewrite now for our Quarkus migrations.
Yes.
So for Quarkus 1 to 2, when we weren't using OpenRewrite for that, what was our strategy for helping customers migrate?
So for community users, the strategy was basically go to the migration guides and figure things out by yourself.
RTFM, good luck.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, our migration guides are comprehensive, and I think we are trying to put as many details as we can in them, and we continue to do it.
RTCM, read the comprehensive manual.
Yes, exactly, and we continue to do it because we would like more people to use Quarkus Update, but we know not all people will actually use it. So yeah, our migration guides are still comprehensive and are still describing whatever you need to do to migrate to the new version. But really, the trigger for experimenting with OpenRewrite was with the migration from 2 to 3. You had to rewrite your packages. You potentially had to rewrite a lot of your dependencies. So and these changes were painful and were not actually helping you to understand anything. I mean, rewriting packages from Javax to Jakarta. Yeah, so that's when we decided that we really needed a tool to make the life of the users more easy. I think that Max, we had some experimentations with some tool for customers. No, we had a migration tool, and I think
there's a thing called Migration Toolkit for applications that Red Hat has, which is more like an advisory tool than actually doing the actual rewrite.
Yeah.
But no, the important thing is to remember, like, until 3, or the Quarkus 3, we didn't have that many big, like, they were not like massive rewrites. Quarkus has always been in a philosophy of like release early, break often, but in a nice way. That sounds wrong, but like we are not trying to stay stable for 10 years. We are fine doing changes, and we wanted to have people to be like, if you follow it along, you'll see us like break and change, but still stay compatible as much as we can. But with 3, we hit the wall because of the Jakarta legal-driven development, where everything's solid. It's just like we had to have something. And yes, we worked with the migration toolkit, but I got talking to the CEO, CTO, is it CEO John of Moderne, and talk about OpenRewrite. And I realized, hey, wait, this tool allows us to do these like small migrations in a very tight, safe manner, and we should do more of that. So it ended up being that the migration toolkit team actually adopted OpenRewrite as a tool they use in their tooling to do this. And then it was suddenly, hey, now we can actually, like, the stuff we do at OpenRewrite can now feed into both. We do on Quarkus can feed into OpenRewrite Moderne rules, and it can feed into MTA, and it's all like one big happy family of sharing these things. And this is the thing I find that's when I saw the first demos of how OpenRewrite gone, I was like, man, I wish we had this in Java like 10, 15 years ago. And the ecosystem just kind of used to have this stuff here. But that's, I think, would be good to, if Guillaume is going to show what we can do now, because one of the things we've done is to enable others in the Quarkus ecosystem to kind of add their things to it. But yeah, no, we've done many prototypes and experiments, and I'm happy to see it's actually now working in Quarkus 3. So yeah. So again, do you want to try and show something?
Yeah, I can show. Maybe I can show 2 migrations that I did. So I actually used our update recipes back in the time to migrate one of our projects, which is a Quarkus GitHub bot. And also, we are also using Quarkus update to update extensions. So when you are developing an extension and you want to update it to the next Quarkus version, you can use Quarkus update. And yeah, I can show you how it works for these 2 projects and the result of the migration. Let's start with that.
Just before you do that, we've got a question.
Okay.
So we've got Benjamin who wants to know, will we be able to use the migration tool from 2.16, or do you already have to be on 3.6?
No, so basically from whatever version you start, we will apply all the recipes from your version to the new version. So if you're coming from 2.16, we will apply all the migration to get you to 3.6. And that's exactly what I will show. I will show an application which was using 2.16 something, I think, and I will update it to the latest, and even more than the latest because I will go to 3.7, which will be released soon. So yeah, you can really update from whatever version you want.
Yeah, I think at least we can even go back to 2.13, and you should be able to go back to 2.7, which was the very first early thing. But that's assuming you're using the same structure as we've always had. Then everything should be just fine. But yeah. So, but yes, the idea was to upgrade from Quarkus 2 to 3, and then the idea is to for every release we do a Quarkus, we will keep improving and add any migration things we do, and therefore allow us to do more changes in the future that and help users migrate. So yeah, you can go from Quarkus 2. Yeah.
Sorry. If I wanted to do like 2.16 to 3.2 to do sort of like a half migration, could I do that by choosing the right level? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. So let's see it.
Let me know when.
Yeah, you are good. You are good.
Okay. So this is the Quarkus bot in its Quarkus 2 branch. So it's using Quarkus 2.16.1. It was already using Java 17, and it's also using a version of the Quarkus GitHub extension that is compatible with Quarkus 2. And the idea is to move this project to Quarkus 3.7. So Quarkus 3.7 is not released yet. So usually you just have to do Quarkus update, and I want to go to 3.70 CR1. So in this case, I will define the stream. And only to answer your question, that's exactly how you will update to 3.2 only if you want.
Got it.
So let's start the process. So it's just launching some Maven stuff because it's a Maven project. And as you can see, it starts the Rewrite Maven plugin. So what we do is that we built a recipe from all the nested recipes that we want to apply for all versions that we order in the right order so that they are applied in the version order. And then we will just run the recipe on the project. And that's it. Here if we just do a git diff, we will see. So in the new version, so for 3.7, we started using a new recipe provided by OpenRewrite, which can update the Maven wrapper that you have in your project. So we started using that. And that's one of the things that is really great with OpenRewrite, the fact that it's open source. And a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure most of the recipes are contributed by Moderne, but people are contributing recipes. The catalog, the recipe catalog, has always new surprises for you when you go there. And so you go looking for the doc of a specific recipe, and the doc is very well done. And you go to the recipe catalog, and you find, there's a new recipe to update the Maven wrapper. Nice, I can use it. So now we are using it. And then you can see that in the POM, we actually updated the compiler plugin because we need to update it 3.7. We updated the Quarkus version to 3.7 CR1. Usually it doesn't update to a CR release, only the final, and it did it because I forced the stream on it with the stream option. It also updates the Sapphire plugin because we wanted to update it. And then you can see that it pushed a Quarkus GitHub app version that is compatible with Quarkus 3 and also Jakarta E10, and also a build reporter version that is compatible with Quarkus 3. And that it also rewrote a few dependencies that have changed due to the Jakarta E10 rewrite. So the new expression language implementation in Jakarta E10 is called Expressly. So we rewrite it. And also the GraalVM artifact has changed, and so we update to it. We also remove Mockito inline because it was dropped. So we remove this artifact, and then you can see all the changes to the Java files to change the packages from Javax to Jakarta, which are required by the change to Jakarta E10. So, and as you can see, and that's what I was saying earlier, we don't have any noise in the changes. Everything is perfectly formatted. It completely respects what we were doing before. And really, whatever recipe you apply, it really tries hard to make sure that you don't have noise in your changes. So then there's nothing really interesting apart from these changes. So that was for the application. So that's what your journey for a standard Quarkus application will be. And here we have an extension. So the extension is a multi-module. Maybe let me zoom a bit. So it's multi-module. And we can do the exact same thing. So, let me show you that it was so this one was using Java 11 and Quarkus 2.16.6. And we will do the exact same thing. So one thing that is important with Quarkus 3.7 is that the new baseline is Java 17. So you will have to update your projects to compile with Java 17. And that's also something OpenRewrite can help you with. And we will see a few tricks that are applied. So this is a little bit
updates to GitHub Actions.
Exactly.
Because today I need to update one of my extensions to 3.7, and I was going to do it by hand, and I should not do it by hand. I should use the Quarkus update
what
tool.
It doesn't do maybe yet, I don't know, is that if you have a matrix, matrix are hard because basically it's variables, and it won't change the versions in your matrix. And I mean, it's probably a good idea because you probably need to maybe you probably need to add Java 21 to your matrix, for instance, because you were supporting Java 11 and Java 17, and now you want to support Java 21. So it won't fix everything, but at least in this simple case, for our release workflow, it will update the Java version to 17 in the GitHub Action workflow. And then you have the exact same thing. So we are updating the import. We are updating the group ID and artifact for the Graal VM substitution. And we have some POM changes at some point. Yes, so, and here are the POM changes. So you can see that the Maven compiler source and the Maven compiler target have been adjusted to 17. The Quarkus version have been adjusted. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So once you have done that, you have a project that is fully migrated to Quarkus 3.7 and will work out of the box. So we are not applying all the we are not fixing everything for you, and that's something that we did recently for the guide, for the migration guide. We are now indicating clearly what is handled automatically by Quarkus update. So for some of the items, it's just that there's really nothing to do.
Can you zoom in, Guillaume? It's a bit small.
Okay, sorry. Yes, be a bit better. But typically the fact that you have to move to Java 17, it will be handled by the Quarkus update. So I try to find some emoji combination that would convey the information. The changes we are doing to the REST client, we are adjusting some artifact IDs for the REST client. They will be handled automatically for you. So that's actually something we are still working on a bit. We are fixing a few corner cases, but if you are using the Hibernate model gen annotation processor, before Quarkus 3.7 and more importantly Hibernate ORM 6.4, you could use it as a provided dependency, and the Maven compiler plugin would somehow figure out that it needs to apply the annotation processor. This won't work anymore with Hibernate ORM 6.4 because annotation processor now has a few dependencies and it doesn't work well with this approach. So if you have the Hibernate model gen provided dependency, you need to add an annotation processor and declare it. And you also need it to be consistent with the version of Hibernate ORM you are using, which could be a bit annoying. So what we are doing is that we developed a recipe for OpenRewrite, which will actually detect if you have this dependency, and will add the annotation processor to your Maven compiler plugin configuration, and it will extract the version from the BOM and use the exact same version. And we will also keep it in sync for the next updates to make sure that when you update, the version is actually kept in sync. So that's a lot of things that you can do with OpenRewrite. And whenever you don't have something in the recipe catalog, there's a good chance that you can very easily develop one. And also, there is a very great test framework. So it's very easy to develop your recipe, add a test, make sure that it does exactly what you want, and then you can just ship it. And you can use it in your YAML files, declaring the recipe. So that's maybe something we can quickly show, is that for each version of Quarkus, we have a file listing the changes that we want to apply, and that's how OpenRewrite works. You define a list of recipes. You have a lot of recipes that comes with OpenRewrite, typically this update Maven wrapper thing, the fact that you can change the dependency, the fact that you can change the package, and a lot of other things. So for each Quarkus version, we are just writing this file, and sometimes we have to write a recipe and custom recipe. And the next step when you are writing a custom recipe is taking a step back and see if it could be made generic enough that you can contribute it to OpenRewrite. Contributing to OpenRewrite is easy. Really, the test framework, and it's easy to add tests. It's easy to add your recipe there. And they publish new releases very often. So if you provide a recipe, you will get the recipe coming in a later version very soon. So that's very good for us. So for now, this annotation processor thingy are still in our Quarkus update project, but the plan is to make them a bit more generic and push them to OpenRewrite so that everyone can benefit from this addition.
And I think it's important to highlight, because you showed that release notes with like some of the stuff is covered by the migration tool. So it doesn't mean that we couldn't do the others, but it's just that the update tool is very focused on not trying to do what's best, but what makes your project work on the next version. Right? So you could also imagine, hey, you are moving from Java 11 to 17. Oh, you can now use multi-line string instead of something, or you can start using a new switch statement in a different way. Right? But we're not trying to do changes that are like, hey, these are better code. No, we're only doing changes that are needed for making the same code run. But then if you want to do stuff like, if you want to I want to have the best approach to do something with the latest version of Java or the latest version of some library, that's when using more generic OpenRewrite becomes a use case, where for Quarkus Update, we are focused on just doing the one thing. So it's definitely been like a few cases now where I said, no. Like there's a great thing in new version of Java, there's a new version of something. We cannot, our update tools shouldn't do that, because then it breaks we can't safely know if that's what the user wants. But yeah, so anyway, the cool thing is just to know that Quarkus Update lets you update from almost any version of older Quarkus to the latest, and we will keep updating them over time. And it's remarkably easy to expand and customize.
And it can be used for internal extensions too, and internal frameworks. And that's something that is really interesting, because what we did with Quarkus, you can do it with your internal framework, with your internal extensions. Camel, typically, the Camel Quarkus extensions are pushing recipes that are specific to them, and they are applied if Camel is around. And you can do that for really whatever you have internally, or if you want to apply some changes to a gazillion of projects in your code base, that's where OpenRewrite really shines, and that's probably what Tim will talk about. And I will shut up because I talked a lot. So
that's all good.
Cool. We got
one. Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so we've got a question about whether the migration tool handles properties files too, if a property name changes, for example.
Yes, so that's a good question for Adriano. So we have some small support about it, but it's so we are handling the easy cases, and Adriano is working on a recipe to handle more cases.
Yes, exactly. I'm working on contributing a recipe that does migration for properties, changing names and mapping properties with maps inside. And this is an example of how you can customize OpenRewrite to do a migration on a specific use case there. This is one example. I have a few others here. Some unfortunately I cannot contribute to proprietary code, but there are several other use cases you can just customize and have custom recipes for it.
Yeah, that's really flexible.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to realize. This is not just Java code. Like it works for properties and YAML and Gradle and Palm and all that stuff. But I know I'm sure Tim will tell us all the wonderful things.
That's the neat thing of, like, Holly called out that she was surprised that the GitHub Actions was actually updated. So we support YAML, and as an extension of that, we can update your GitHub Actions. And then if you want to make automated code changes, we want your pull request to work on the first try. So yes, we do update your GitHub Actions because we know you likely need to. There's a lot of neat things hidden away in these complex upgrades that you get for free. You'll see them applied when they're relevant, and they won't make any change if they're not part of what you should be doing. So it's really need to compose those together and see the effects on your code base. And like Jill said, with Quarkus updates, there's the conscious choice of making only the necessary code changes. Whereas if you do upgrade to Java 17 and you want to take advantage of some of those new language features like pattern matching, for instance, or introducing text blocks and all of that, you can run the same mechanism, but through the OpenRewrite plugin itself. And then you can get all those improvements for your code style as well. So if you want to have a look at that, then you can just outside of Quarkus update, run the OpenRewrite plugins itself. So should be really neat.
Cool. And have you got some demos for us as well, Tim?
Yeah, sure. So I can share my screen. Just a moment. Window. Probably easiest demoed with the platform that we have at Moderne. So I of course work at Moderne, and there we contribute to OpenRewrite, and you can run these recipes on your own machine with the Maven plugins, but you can also run them through a Moderne platform. And this is what
Before you go on, sorry, we've got a question. So we've got a question. What would be helpful in perspective is the ability to apply specific recipes. Actually, I guess it's not really a question. I think it's a feature request. What would be helpful in perspective is the ability to apply specific recipes to specific modules of a multi-module project. Well,
I think this is Alexei Lubianski works on the Quarkus team with me and Guillaume and Holly. It's the challenge here is we have, if I remember correctly, is we want to do upgrades in steps. Like I want to do like update this Maven dependency, and then do this afterwards, but only for certain parts. And the reason why I want to do that is just for speed, like because we know only these things are needed. Whereas if you run on the whole thing, it becomes very slow. I think that's what Alexei refers to, but I think that kind of goes against the philosophy of OpenRewrite, where they don't do changes unless they can do it like safely. Well, I think Alexei is after something that requires like intermediate steps, like do this and this and this. That's my understanding of what I remember Alexei is after. So yeah, that's good.
I can sort of imagine that being useful too for when you have one part of the project is like the graveyard part of the project, and you're hoping it goes away and you never want to touch it, and the build is flaky, so you don't want to make changes. Whereas the other bits you want to keep clean and nice and modern, so you just sort of split it like that.
Yeah. So there are.
So one thing we added in the version 8 of OpenRewrite is the use of preconditions. Preconditions are a check that runs first before we actually make changes. And with that, you can limit your recipes to only make changes to certain modules, if that is your use case. Now then, so that could be really useful for these kind of use cases, indeed.
Yeah. So like for my scenario, if you find the comment at the top that says, do not touch this code ever, then you just don't do it. Cool. Sorry, we interrupted your demo. So let's get your screen in.
So what we, of course, we have the platform where folks can run recipes, and what I can show you here is quite simply how we can compose those recipes together, because this is the landing page of the platform, and it's available on app.moderne.io. You only need GitHub to log in, and then you can start making running recipes and opening up pull requests. And then if we want to find, for instance, the Java 17 migration that we can run as part of your Quarkus upgrade, you can run a small subset. But here we can actually see that when we run it, by default, we run a few more steps. So where Quarkus updates does the minimal changes to get you on Java 17, we actually include a few more steps that are maybe optional, but do to our we feel they improve your code. So for instance, introducing that instance of pattern matching or introducing text blocks, we think that is gonna help the long-term viability of your project to not have to stumble across those anymore. It's not something you want as part of an update. If you do an update, you want your project to have minimal changes, such that if you need to troubleshoot, you know exactly what's going on. But after you've updated, you might want to run these recipes to actually see those changes applied at scale. And the neat thing we can do through this platform is, if you've run Quarkus update or any OpenRewrite recipe, you've probably found that it can take a while. But with this platform, we've actually made it quite quick. So I'm now running all of these Java 17 migrations against all of the Quarkus projects that we support. And I think there's 130 or so projects in here. And when this starts to load on the, you can see if it actually works during a demo, but you will actually start to see a diff of the changes it produced. So again, not just making the necessary changes, but also those optional ones that are maybe you're gonna introduce a text block here or there. And I'm not sure if I have a result ready for this one. I don't think one. And somehow that's it's taking a while. I'll see if I can find one in the recent activity of what's already been written.
It's the curse of the demo.
Yeah. But if I should get a pop-up when the results are available. But if we go to a different recipe that we have, you can also use this platform to gain insights into your entire organization. And that's really neat. If you, for instance, want to know where you are in your migration of the 2 newer versions of Quarkus, you can find all the individual cases where you are now using Quarkus Core and what version you're actually using. And if you run that, you get a quick insight into all of these projects using a particular version of Quarkus Core. And you can dive into the individual versions and see it here. But that's not very useful. We also have a visualization tab, and that allows you to get a quick overview of all the different versions that are in use across the entire organization and how often they are used. And here you can see some projects get stuck at 3.3.0 because that's somewhat has some width to it, but there's also a couple still stuck on like 2.0.1 and all of that. And if you then find that maybe you want to run those recipes, you can do so through this platform as well. So if you want to upgrade something, you go to the Quarkus recipes that we have, and maybe run a couple of those upgrades to get all those old projects to those new versions in just a couple minutes. So that's a really powerful and neat way of using this platform to help maintain open source software. And I did so over the weekend, just as a fun little thing, running one recipe on one project in the Quarkus universe. And there you can see that we indeed apply those instance of pattern matching. So you now see that we actually, instead of casting the string, we actually change the code to use that instance of. So that's really neat. And this is an example of the change that you can use if you also run these recipes on your own machine. So beyond Quarkus updates, there's a lot more that you can do. And it's all part of the 1,400 recipes that we support through OpenRewrite. So it's really neat to look at. And
yeah,
yep.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, like, the way every time I see a demo of Moderne and OpenRewrite, it's like this generic tool of Dependabot and Renovate and what's it called, like Findbox and other tools that can clean up code. And I think it's like these are what you're showing. I would say these are like simple changes, but the cool thing is you get access to the full AST. Like when you're actually writing a rule, you can actually detect pattern and then like of your own custom code. And I can imagine a lot of companies having like massive code bases, and they go like, hey, there's this pattern we followed for the last 10 years that now been proven to be a performance impact. And before you just never change it and just live with it, or go legacy and just dump it all. But now you can kind of like surgically go and change it. And that's a very powerful thing. So it's pretty awesome.
And instead of when you deprecate an annotation or a method, instead of just waiting for people to actually do it, you can just apply the changes and make sure that everyone who updated is using the new method, annotation, or whatever. So that's really neat, because you become a lot more active in maintaining your code base, and not only your code base, but also everyone who is actually consuming your code base. So it's really neat.
It's really neat how you can now just move away from it and move away from something quickly. So rather than having to take a decade to actually adopt new language features or phase out an old method call, you can actually go ahead and give people the tools to do so quickly and safely. Because it's not text-based replacements, and it's actually that full abstract syntax tree that have been modified. And that is just really powerful.
And what I find really cool is that you can do it like in steps, right? Like if you the thing you did on Search Quarkus IO, where you say, if you read my comment, it's like, yeah, it's great, we can do it, but for us in that specific case, it would actually be a downside, because in general, for let's say you did this in Quarkus and say, hey, now migrate everything to 17, that'll be cool and all. But then if you want to backport to the older version that is 11, then you are suddenly giving yourself a burden. So it's always like, it always comes with a what's it called? A trade-off between one and the other, right?
We need OpenRewrite and OpenDewrite.
Yeah. So, but actually, it reminds me of a thing that this is a feature that I can't remember we talked about this, Tim, but because besides doing the actual rewrites and apply them, OpenRewrite can also be able to detect issues that might not be migratable. For example, in Quarkus 3, we had this thing where we upgraded from Hibernate 5 to 6. And there are just some things that are non-migratable, like Hibernate's criteria API was deprecated like a decade ago, and now it got removed. And there's just no way, like we don't even want to try to do the migration, but it'd be nice to be able to warn people saying, hey, this area here is challenging, and have like a report outside that says, hey, we doing the migration, we've done X, Y, Z, but there's these things we want to highlight. Another one was the sequence generator in Hibernate. Yes, we can actually generate code that fixes it, but sometimes we're not 100% sure. But we can detect, hey, you should check if this is the thing, and if it is, do this. So is that something you've is added as something like it's like a report, or like being able to annotate and saying, hey, I want to highlight this?
So that this on a minimal level, we've done this for other frameworks where we detect that there is a complex edge case that we don't yet automatically know what to do. And in those cases, we can, for instance, insert a comment with a link to the docs. Maybe there's a special landing page where you can say like, this has changed in such a way that you need to do something here, and we can't reliably tell you what to do. So that is the very minimal of what we can do. But we've also, over the last couple months, or even half a year, I think, added a function to add where recipes can identify elements of the code that they might want to push towards a report. And we call those data tables. And those data tables we use at Moderne to, for instance, generate reports or a visualization that you saw. And all of that is something that is not yet part of the OpenRewrite plugins, but the transformations we do, those data table rows, they are in there. So if you want to generate that report from what you found across various recipes, you can definitely use those elements to do that. And let's get in touch and see what we can do specifically here.
Sure, because that'll be really awesome. Yeah.
What you are talking about, Max, about maybe we don't want to apply this thing right now because if we want to backport, I think the fact that you have a tool to automate it makes the difference between you will never do it and you don't have to do it now. But when we decide that we don't really need to backport to 11 again, we can just push a button for all the Quarkus projects and migrate them to use Java 17 constructs and be done with it. And that's amazing because, yes, something that you probably would never have done because time or whatever, even if you don't do it now, at some point you can take the decision to apply it and it's done.
Perhaps perhaps a simpler user case here that I have, for instance, detecting Quarkus profile usages, or this application is using the configuration specific for the dev profile or for the production profile, or which one it's using. Have a way to flag it, for instance, and this is something that's not available out of the box on OpenRewrite, and it's one of the recipes I've been contributing to as well.
Yeah, and we really need that because at the moment when we rewrite a configuration property, so for properties we handle things more or less. I'm not sure if we handle the profile. I don't think we did. And then for YAML, it becomes a bit more complex. We are handling things when the structure of the YAML doesn't really change, but if the structure of the YAML changes, then it doesn't go very well. And so that's why we need this custom recipe that Adriana is working on. And I mean, that's really something that is amazing, that whenever you can't do something, because it's highly specific to Quarkus, this profile syntax and how we handle configuration properties in YAML and properties and whatever. We don't have it in the recipe catalog, but we have all the tools to handle it, and the tools are available, and all the low-level thingies are working perfectly well. So you just have to assemble all these low-level thingies to do whatever you actually want. And it's really nice to. It could be complex and cumbersome to write recipes, but in the end, it's really simple, and you need to have some basics in mind. But once you have understood what you can do with it, it's really simple.
Yeah, it reminds me of one thing that, like in the past, I've used other tools, like I think both IntelliJ and NetBeans and even Eclipse had their own way of like recording. Hey, here are some changes that can be done between versions, but they're all IDE specific. OpenRewrite is IDE agnostic. This works on the languages, which, Java, YAML. Do you have Kotlin support now, or is it just great old Groovy?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, Kotlin as well.
Yeah. and that's a pretty amazing achievement. So makes it good for us because we are using both IntelliJ. We have IntelliJ, Eclipse, VS Code. We even have some NetBeans users too. So it's quite a mix of people.
And some VI users as well, because they're hardcore.
Yeah, but there's no hope for them. So they will never use a tool like this anyway. So yeah. But yeah, no, exactly. It's like Quarkus, like all the dev mode and stuff we have is also things you can find in plugins and specific IDEs. But we've done in a way that is IDE agnostic, so everyone can get benefit from it. That's a big thing, and really a power of the whole ecosystem.
So it looks like we're at time. Time has flown. So I guess we should probably wrap up. But does anybody have any last comments?
Yeah, I think I would say use Quarkus Update, because every time I say, oh, we can break this because people using Quarkus Update, they won't even see it, Max is telling me, oh, but there are people not using it, so we can't do that this way. So use Quarkus Update, prove Max wrong, and
please.
And Thomas
and Thomas has just chipped in as well. It was even before you started talking. Thomas jumped in and was like, "We're not allowed to break it."
Yeah, but for those who don't know, Thomas is the PM of Quarkus, and this is, I think it's important to say we're not pushing for this to encourage breakage. It's just that it allows us to move forward, right? And it also allows us to have backwards compatibility for longer, right? Because we can really now know if someone has issues, we can just tell them, run the update tool, and then we know it worked for you. And it's just this one of, it's like I compare it it's not as big, but it's similar. When you move from SVN to Git, you're like, hey, it's the same thing, but just you have a tool that now does merges really, really fast and efficiently. You suddenly start using it. And it's the same here. It's like OpenRewrite allows us to do, like, basically move people forward in a much more easy way. And it's, for example, the Quarkus, I believe the Quarkus update tool is a big part of why we're seeing like a big move to Quarkus 3, because not only are the new people grabbing the latest, but also the existing 2x are easier to move over than if it's there. But there'll still be people who never use the tool and don't realize it's there. But that's why we do these podcasts, is and docs to make people aware it is there. And we really like it. And also, people should take a look at OpenRewrite and Moderne, because it's generically useful. It's not limited to just Quarkus update. Very cool.
So with that, thanks for having us. And if you see any changes that are not yet covered, either on a Quarkus specific end or maybe something more generic, and feel free to get in touch and see what we can do to automate those use cases.
Definitely. And thank you for coming.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Cool.
Yes.
See you all.